AI is the talk of the town, and I strongly suggest you have a long sit down and think about what it could mean for you, your job, your life, and just about everything. There might be nothing you can do about it, but it's good to be mentally aware. In this video, I'm going to try and figure out how it will affect me as a YouTuber. A few years ago, I would have said that my profession was one of the safest, as I figured automation would go after the physical and menial jobs first, as opposed to the artistic and the creative. Well, tell that to all the artists now staring Stable Diffusion in the face. ChatGPT is the big scary one right now, threatening to change the very way in which we interact with the internet. Companies like Google have suddenly gone into overdrive to whip up their own alternatives, and no one's really sure where this arms race is headed just yet. But it probably involves more money for Google and less for everybody else, including me. They already choose which bits of videos to show when you Google search for them. The next step would be summarising the whole video into their own AI-interpreted paragraph and giving it to the search directly, cutting out the middleman and starving the original source of even getting a view. I guess what struck me is how few people currently care about AI. I would say of the few people I know in real life, none of them are taking it that seriously. I'm not holding that against them, it's just in stark contrast to how I feel about it, as you'll find out from this video. It seems like, to most people, there's no difference between ChatGPT and a face filter on Instagram. Like, they're both just gimmicky computer tricks that we'll quickly lose interest in. I guess that most people already see computers as being able to perform magic. They've seen CGI in movies, they know that Google can whip up whatever they want within a fraction of a second. To them, there probably isn't anything that computers can't do already, so the idea that they can now create images and whip up text on the spot is probably nothing different. But I guess I can see how it is different, because I knew the strengths and weaknesses of computers before AI was a thing, and I knew which activities required human input and how much of it to achieve results. But with AI, it's like computers are finding ways to bypass their weaknesses, and at a staggering rate. Maybe I'm the one who underestimated computers all along. Perhaps AI is making them become the thing that most people take them for granted as being already. And when I'm typing prompts for a Stable Diffusion image, I realise I'm communicating to it more like it's a human. I'll say really general stuff like, add some snow to this image and maybe a big tree. It doesn't need to be specific or 100% correct anymore. I can give it the general gist of what I want, and it's as if the computer knows what I want from that, as opposed to before, where what you gave the computer was what you got. Even trying to describe how AI works to people makes me realise I'm sounding more like how computer illiterate people did when trying to describe a computer's operations 20 years ago. How does AI work? Well, you give it stuff and it puts it in a magic box and it pulls out a result. That isn't computery, that's magic. And since this video is going to age terribly no matter what happens, I may as well put it out there and say that I think AI is as big a breakthrough for humanity as alien contact would be, maybe greater. And I'm not even talking about discovering bacteria on Mars kind of alien contact. I'm talking about an advanced civilization that comes down to contact us and hopefully not to destroy us. Because don't get me wrong, that would be very cool and immediately more exciting, but then I imagine that things would slow down and the excitement would taper off. But with AI, it's like this thing we've created that's already incredible, but it's advancing at such a rapid pace and threatens to challenge us in all the ways we've previously seen as being human strengths. So discovering life elsewhere would make us feel less lonely, but creating intelligence here is far more impactful. Maybe AI progress will hit a roadblock tomorrow, and this video will age even worse than I thought it would. But right now, this is how I feel about it. It's a huge thing. Mankind has discovered a very powerful new tool to enable all sorts of breakthroughs with. The sky's the limit. Unlike with alien contact. So there's always the possibility that AI goes rogue and becomes its own thing, and it seems like too many companies are toying with that idea already. But right now it's best to see AI as being a tool to augment our own abilities with. Forget about the terrifying and fast approaching future for now. And let's ask, how can it make a YouTuber's life better right now? Well, it's great for drawing thumbnails with, that's for sure. I've been playing about with it, asking for blue and purple squiggles and various other clickbait stuff, and it works. This stuff can be any style I like and it's done in seconds, and I can get as many designs for it as I'd like. With just a few prompt changes, I tend to get what I envisioned, or better. And it's lovely to have a tool that can immediately provide copyright-free content for me to use to make my own videos more appealing to watch. I'm kind of pleased I opened this video up with all the terrifying possibilities that AI will eventually create, because saying it's great for drawing backgrounds of YouTube thumbnails is kind of selling it short. But it's a handy use case for me. Then I looked to my video scripts, and this is something I have refused to give over to AI. You can already ask AI to write an essay about anything you want, and it'll do a good job of it. But I guess for me, my script writing is more than just a script. It helps me to put my own thoughts into words, helps me to understand the subject better. And that difference is all that's really separating my own content from the flood of AI-generated stuff that's soon to be headed our way. And if I'm not better than that AI stuff is, then hopefully I'm at least different enough. I'm not too hopeful about this, given the number of accusations I've received already from people claiming I'm AI generating my scripts and voices. It's a bit disheartening, really. So maybe I could get ChatGPT to write up a summary of a video I intend to make, and then I can simply add to it and to edit the bits to sound more like how I'd word it. But that just feels wrong, and it doesn't really feel like it'll save me time when I see a script as being kind of like a story that I have to give a start and an end and to pace correctly in the meantime. Honestly, getting ChatGPT to do bits for me feels like more effort than for me just to carry on as I've always done it. It also feels like I'm giving over part of my content creation process to something that I don't have full control over. I can see the negatives of AI-generated script writing a lot more clearly. I fully expect people to create low-effort copies of my content by copy-pasting my hand-typed subtitles into ChatGPT and getting it to reword it in a seemingly original way. Within seconds, they'll have an original-sounding copy of a script that took me hours or days to write. Earlier, when I asked ChatGPT to type up a script for this video, it raised an interesting point that I hadn't considered. Perhaps I could ask AI what would be popular to make a video about. Because remember what ChatGPT is. It's based on a huge amount of data collected online, so surely that gives it the ability to know what's popular and what's not. I'm not saying just to do whatever it tells me to, because that wouldn't put me ahead of anybody else asking ChatGPT the same questions, but it could form the basis of a brainstorming session or simply to suggest points that I would then investigate further myself. Kind of like what I'm doing here, from a suggestion made by ChatGPT earlier. YouTube has its own research section, showing you current search trends and so on, which is probably more useful and up to date than ChatGPT is. But I can definitely see AI becoming one of many tools I could use when trying to discover and to flesh out new content. One thing's for sure, YouTube is only going to get more competitive. We see automated stuff already, typically in niches like news channels and stuff ripped from Reddit posts. But AI is going to increase the amount of stuff that can be automated, and AI-generated content on YouTube is going to expand exponentially. Eventually, human-generated content is going to be dwarfed by it, with anything new being immediately ripped off and regurgitated over and over again like a top-rated repost on Reddit. My content could be awesome, but what good is that if it can't be seen, or if one of my thumbnails doesn't get as many clicks as the 100 AI-generated copies of that video will? At least they won't be able to copy my voice, right? The CSGO Source 2 rumors have literally changed my life. This is no joke. AI voice generation. Yes, it exists and it's getting better all the time. Still not good enough to pass as the original thing, but already good enough that some people don't care. I've seen my voice used in TikTok videos, but where will it end? What if it's used for misinformation? What if my voiceover becomes so popular and overused that people grow tired of it and end up hating on my original channels for using it? I'll admit, it would be nice to automate some readings of my scripts. When I record segments, it's hard to get them sounding the same as previous recordings are. Sometimes I will lose my voice, other times my room seems echoier than normal. And it does take time and effort to record and to edit my voice recordings down. Funnily enough, I'm more open to AI generating my voice than I am my scripts. But I still prefer having control over how I emphasize words or whatever, which I would lose with AI, in its current state. How awesome would it be to use AI to convert my content into another language, and to have it read that language convincingly? I'd be able to break into new markets with minimal effort. It's something I expect Google will eventually do automatically, but it may be worth saving my voice audio separately from the background music and sounds just in case. Because it'll make the process easier, won't it? The bit of my content creation that takes the longest is getting the video clips and splicing it all together, and I don't see AI doing a good job with this anytime soon. Some of the most popular YouTubers though don't even bother with this. Happy with just recording them talking in front of the camera or them doing a surf map or whatever. So maybe the time I spend editing my videos is wasted time anyway, and I'd be better off just showing one single long irrelevant clip of something, and using that time saved to produce more content with clickbaitier titles and thumbnails instead. So that's how I can see AI changing the way I make videos. This next point isn't about my content creation, but it is to do with my reputation online. It's no secret that I've upset a lot of people with all the controversial content that I create. The internet is becoming increasingly polarized about every topic imaginable, to the point where you accept, if you cover a new topic, that you will make new enemies, simply for covering that topic, or for not mentioning something while covering that topic, or because you mentioned something while not covering that topic. It's impossible to not make enemies online these days, especially if you have a following of some sort. Back in my day, if someone offended me, I'd just childishly downvote the last 20 videos they made and then would move on. But these days, people's spite knows no bounds. They will make it their life mission to ruin you, simply because they think you slighted them 5 years ago. And a great way to do this is to amass a bot army. These things multiply your voice, your opinions, and your message. You can create a credible sounding argument where previously there wasn't one. Get enough of them to post a lie about something, and onlookers will begin to assume it must be a valid point. Bot armies are nothing new. I'm sure there are businesses that provide bot armies for a price. And dedicated individuals may already maintain dozens of Reddit accounts for such occasions. But AI will greatly lower the effort and barrier of entry to creating a bot army for your own personal needs, to serve whatever purpose their master commands. Imagine if I created 200 fake accounts on Reddit who used ChatGPT to generate convincing sounding responses to random things in random subreddits. I could then use them, whenever I needed them to flock to my need to upvote something I'd done or to downvote my enemies. And this sort of stuff is nothing new, it's already happening. But AI will lower the barrier of entry. And not having your own bot army won't stop other bot armies from being used against you. Ultimately, I'm doing a disservice to AI in this video. I'm treating it as a thing to do what we currently do, instead of thinking ahead and imagining what it could enable that doesn't currently exist. Turns out that's very hard to do. People 20 years ago would have struggled to envision the capabilities of mobile phones that we all have in our pockets now. Remember those teachers saying we won't always have a calculator in our pockets? That wasn't said ironically. Or at least there was a time when it wasn't. For me, I must try and embrace AI to enable more or better content than I already make. I should make a Chinese kliksphilip channel that AI converts all my scripts and voices in order to tap into a new market. Maybe I should produce several channels to regurgitate the content I already make. Get in there now, mix up the scripts with ChatGPT, use different AI generated voices for each, and flood this site with my content before others do. I'm not going to do that just yet, but it's worth thinking about. Integrating AI into my workflows will require change. It will take a while to figure out, but if I don't do this, someone else will. They probably are already. And I don't think you can stop it at this point. Far better just to embrace it for your own benefit.